Good afternoon and welcome. Kent Bain here with Nine Business Group and Maxim with the founder group, but I think there's a better name that we can use because I see the Vinter background in the background. So I will hand it over to Maxim and I'll let him explain the company and put a little plug in for what you guys do. Maxim, welcome.
Thanks, Kent. So in 2018, we founded Future Ventures is actually the name of the company, and it's a family office. We either invest, so think of it as kind of like a private equity company. We either invest or incubate in company. We don't necessarily need to have controlling interest in the companies, but we do like to shape the direction of the ventures that we invest. So what we do is we provide financial strategic advice to early stage ventures to help them massively accelerate their journeys. So on one end of the spectrum, you have this is kind of like more of a landscape. On one end of the spectrum, you have the government resources and myriads of pre-accelerators that provide early stage companies with advice. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it has venture capital companies. And VC firms like to invest in companies that have solid customer attractions, solid revenue attractions. They have de-risked quite a bit of the equations, and they're ready to invest, to pump money into the company to put it on a rocket launch. So where we like to play is kind of like the space right in the middle, which is the area that makes or breaks the business. So in 2021, we launched another company called Yuvo Consulting Corp. And Yuvo is a business transformation, digital transformation consultancy. And the other company that we launched in 2021 is called Untitled Ventures. And Untitled Ventures is a venture studio. So why did we do this? And really the answer is we saw a need to provide precise advice to early stage companies. So a lot of the solutions that currently exist, they're very much designed to be one to many. Yes, quite often those programs are free, but you get what you pay for. What we find is that a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of early stage companies, what they're looking for is, give me that great advice to help me accelerate my company. And talk to my unique sets of challenges that I have to deal with, rather than give me that generic vanilla advice that's like, it's like, you can say, well, it fits everyone and fits nobody. So that's kind of like the space we decided to play in. That's why we're unique, because we not only provide financial system, but we provide with the shore up the companies with resources they need to scale up the companies. And then we help them avoid any kind of blind spots that may exist. As a result, we really help them put them on a rocket scale.
All right, I'm going to have fun with this.
Sure.
I've been business coaching for 15 years.
Yep.
I use the term blind spot. I like to use the term, and I think the results I get from my clients do the same thing, accelerate their growth. But I think it's different. So could you speak to the difference between kind of your uniqueness in that piece of advice versus maybe what would be your interpretation of consulting? How would we work together? How would we augment what we do? Or because a lot of people who are watching the video know coaching because they're following me.
Yeah.
And you got something different. So how would you explain the difference?
Let me kind of split the question in two parts. Yuvo Consulting is a business transformation, digital transformation company. What we focus on there are big companies that are going through a massive transformation. So we work with a lot of the midstream companies, like the pipeline companies and the upstream companies around, okay, I have a 50, 60, 70-year-old company. I need to build it for the future. So what do I need to do there? Do I need to upgrade my scheduling, logistics, oil accounting, quality and measurement system? Do I need to bring them all together? Do I need to build robotic process automation? How do I get it in the future? So this is on the business transformation consultancy side. On the early stage company side, what's different is that we're very nichely focused on technology companies, because that's the space that we know. We I mean, could we work with other companies? Yes, but we like to stick to what we know. We know technology extremely well. We have a team of developers that works on this. We have marketing people, we have search engine optimization people that they're focused on technology company. So let's say that you're building a SaaS platform. Let's say that you're building a multi-sided marketplace. Let's say that you're building an enterprise software. This is our jam. This is where what we know. This is where we can accelerate. This is where we can excel. Probably other companies are better fit with other consultants. When it comes to technology, we have a partnership with a big company called Quorum, and Quorum is the largest energy software company. We focus on technology.
Okay, the word technology can be this big.
Yep.
Can you, it sounds like you have a certain niche in that technology space. So what would that technology space, because I think about technology, I think software, which is much different than the hardware of technology, which is different than even implementing technology. So what would be your niche in that space?
Very much on the software side. Anything that's hard tech requires deep pockets, and we're not ideally suited for it. On the software side, really, there isn't a domain that we haven't worked on or haven't touched. From blockchain to AI to machine learning to automations. We use the latest technology stacks, but it's on the software side. That's where the team excels. Like we've been building software for years and years. But if it comes to hard tech, you're building a hardware device, not our jam. You're better off with somebody else.
And so what would be an ideal client? What would be the perfect client for you on the software technology side?
For us, really, it's a company that has gone through the proof of concept, has done their minimum viable product, have some idea around who their customer is, so they've gone through the customer discovery journey, and they have revenue. But they're looking to scale up. Maybe along the way, they have accumulated technology debt because they have used freelancers or agencies to build what they have. And now they're trying to take the company into the next phase.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you're in dream mode. And what I mean by that is when I meet business owners, the kind of question is, are we in build, dream, or finish mode? And are you kind of in that dream and build mode as to what's possible and kind of what you can accomplish?
Absolutely. Like there's a quote that I love, is like, if you, and I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it was something of the nature of, if you don't go out and build in your dreams, somebody will hire you to help build theirs. So it's very much, and hence why the company name is called Future Ventures. We're hell bent on supporting founders that that have the desire and passion to build the future. They either trying to establish new industries where industries don't even exist, or transform existing industries. So yes, very much.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. So it's very much on build and future and dreaming. Yeah.
What is, in the last couple of years, or I guess looking forward to 3 to 5 years and accomplishing your dream, what's the biggest concern or the biggest challenge you face?
Shortage of, or talent shortage is very much a big issue. What we're seeing is that we're living in a globally competitive world, and the threat factors are coming from everywhere. So there's this urgency and need to build fast, build well, be early follower, not necessarily the first to market, but the early follower, capture market size. So it's really important to find a way to drive maximum velocity with the minimum amount of resources.
That's a tall order. Maximum velocity with minimum resources. We're going to outer space. Kind of sounds like it. So
yeah.
What does it look like when we're done? Like, you're building, can I use the term venture capital firm? Is that the term to use? Or what common term could I use to describe what you do? Or is there one? Are you making it up? Is that the prize?
So Kent, you're good with your questions. I've been going back and forth around venture capital firms. I've actually created the fund agreements and all of the governance is in place to stand up a venture capital firm. Ultimately, working with my advisory team, we've decided not to transform the company into a venture capital firm, at least not for the foreseeable future, because being a venture capital firm comes with a lot of compliance, and for the right reason. You're there to protect people's money and making sure that people realize the benefit of their investments. And yes, it's accredited investor, so they should know better. But nonetheless, what we're really passionate about is helping our companies and our founders scale up and build the companies of the future. And if we're to stand up a VC firm, which we could, I feel like it's going to distract us from what really matters.
Kind of in that space of you have to probably really steadfast and stubborn to taking a company public, because if you go public, it adds a whole different department need of bodies and resources to keep those to maintain the fiduciary responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've worked for a number of public companies. I mean, one of them being Pembina Pipeline Corporation, is the chief audit executive. So my job was to make sure that the company stays compliant with the public filings. And there's a massive cost associated with being a public company. There's massive amount of scrutiny. I think that you can go faster by being private, and hence why you see a lot of companies go from public to private. Like, and there's a lot of famous examples for it. So I just think that staying private, avoiding IPO as a vehicle to raise capital is our personal goal.
So you alluded you have a couple companies ready, and I don't need to divulge how many, but what does it look like when you're done? Is it the big, hairy, audacious goal of taking 100 companies or 1,000 companies? Is it what's your measure of success in what time frame? Creating X number of jobs? I know I personally set a goal when I started coaching in 2007. I wanted to create 10 millionaires in 10 years.
Yep.
And so I've done that, and I want to do like 100 millionaires in the next 10 years. But do you have one of those? What's your definition of success? Because it's not a quote unquote traditional business that you would build and then potentially sell, is it? Because I think in that world, it has to be a different goal.
So there's the personal side, there's the societal side, and then there's the financial side. On the personal side, what I'm passionate about is driving impact for the people that I work with. So I want to drive positive change for the people around me. On the societal impact, all of our companies are very closely aligned with 3 different frameworks: Principles for Responsible Investments, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and B Corp. So the companies, so we have 9 companies in the portfolio, and all of them are aligned with this. And now what we're trying to do is take it from this is aligned with our vision to actually being B Corp certified and formally reporting on the metrics and things like that. My personal belief is that if you're doing something that's good for the world and good for the society, you're ultimately going to be successful as a business. So hence why I started with personal, societal, and then the last one is financial. I think that the financial is an outcome, a result of what you're doing. So yes, our goal is to build unicorns. I think 2 of our companies have the potential to be a unicorn, but that's not really the goal. Yeah, I would rather build $100 million company that becomes a niche, builds a community, becomes uniquely positioned and has unique strengths, than build a $1 billion company that I feel like perhaps I'm not living my values.
Fantastic. Now, you alluded you have team members, so I'm curious. I've met hundreds, if not thousands, of business owners over the years in various stages of growth and development. How involved are your employees in any one of your partner companies? A lot, little, or does we inject the resources when required and then empower the team to do their thing?
So I'm not sure if your question is from investor investment perspective, or
I'm thinking resources like staffing. So you got some people you work with. Say company XYZ comes along, they're a good fit for you. Now, are your employees, your team members directly involved in
Yes.
contributing to their build? And then is that
Yes.
a full-time thing, or does it as required?
As required. It's very precise in terms of where the need exists, what help they need, but they're very much hands-on deck, helping out to accelerate the journey. The other thing that's it's paramount to us is you don't become successful unless you create an alignment with the team. They have to feel like it's their success, it's their company. So in all of our companies, there's some form of share ownership and profit sharing, not just like a bonus, but like it's their company, it's their ship. Go and build it, go make it better. That's the couch that we're trying to set. And we even take it and we extend it even further. So with Vinter, the company that we're building, what we're focusing on is building a contributor model where if you contribute content, you get to share from you get to profit share in whatever results this content generates. So it's like, instead of me, or let's for example, let's assume that you wrote an article, and that article drives, like, I don't know, 10,000 hits a month. Well, if I just paid you for the article, you made X number of dollars. But if I share with you the revenue that's generated from this content, then you have the ability to exponentially drive revenue or drive income from this. So that's what we're trying to create, because like what we're trying to build a community, and we're trying to find the perfect alignment of stakeholder interests.
So what is the maximum? Is there a maximum number of companies you can work with, or is it in direct proportion to the amount of employees that your business can hire to support the number of ventures that come on board?
So I mean, we've designed our companies to be scalable and for support to be scalable. Ultimately, I think that when you come to 15, 20, if you're pulling on the same resources, you become very distracted. As they say, you can do many things mediocre, few things well. So 15, 20 is probably like our target range. And this is very similar to a VC firm standing up a fund. The number of investments that they would make in a dedicated fund is kind of anywhere in the range of 10 to 20, depending on fund size.
So this is a bit of a personal question, and maybe too deep. If you're not comfortable answering, don't. Is there a point in time where a company that's partnered with you, you've invested in, that they mature and grow out, and your resources are required less?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And in many cases, we try to get there as quick as possible. As I said, velocity is really important. We are early stage company, and early stage is a definition that could mean different things to different people depending on different geographies. So ultimately, the sooner that we can accelerate a company, get it up the curve, then what would come in next, and let's say that we invested the pre-seed, the seed round, somebody's going to invest in seed or Series A. So and quite often the subsequent investors would take all of the shares of the pre-existing investors through liquidity event, or they may allow some of the investors to stay on. But absolutely, our goal is to turn it over to companies that they're better suited at that stage of that company's life to help them grow and support them.
Is the intent to take them all public, or doesn't matter? It's up to the vision of the owner to decide if they go public, or you were to help them get to a certain point and then they can continue down their own journey?
I personally don't like public company just because it comes with so much scrutiny and slows you down. It's a distraction. But yes, the goal is to get them to accelerate as fast as possible.
Cool. You've been involved with 9 different companies, and you said you've been doing this for about 2 years. So I'm assuming you've had different backgrounds and corporations and jobs and entrepreneurial journeys. What one piece of advice would you share about growing or scaling a business?
For me, So the first company that I started was in '99. And what I've learned there is that there've been a lot of lessons that have come along the way. Um, the item that's really important is to believe in yourself. Um, Being an entrepreneur is it's a tumultuous journey because the highs are really high and the lows are really low. But confidence is contagious. Believe in yourself, never stop innovating, and have an advisory team to help you avoid the blind spots.
Nice. So that I'm going to cheat. So who's your advisory board? Who do you go to for advice as the coach? I love being on people's advisory
Yep.
boards and playing that role. So it sounds like you have a good collaboration.
Yep.
Don't have to name names, but what does your advisory team look like? Because I've found over the years, sometimes it's a brother, an accountant, a lawyer, business coaches, peer groups, that sort of stuff. So what is, and I'm sure even in COVID, we probably all went out to the street and went, I need to talk to somebody because I'm tired of talking to myself.
Yep.
So who do you go to and what does that look like for you?
So for me personally, I have an advisory board that's kind of tied to the companies, and so it's one of my advisory board members is a former colleague of mine that used to be a partner with Ernst & Young or EY. Another one is a marketing executive that very much had the expertise in marketing, and the third one is the technology founder. So this is kind of like the more of a technology, the company area focus. And when we build advisory boards, no different than building a board of directors. We go through the skills and competency matrix and say, well, where is the company on the journey, and what are the competencies that are necessary to help the company at this stage of its journey? And then personally, I've had an executive coach for a number of years. I take a lot of advice from my wife. And then just recently, I started a relationship with the Venture Mentoring Services of Alberta. So they've paired me up with 3 mentors that, again, for them, it's a bit different because and I'm using their saying, they focus on the race car driver, not on the race car. So it's very much personally focused. Like, all right, let's say you have disagreement with your co-founder, you have issues that you have to deal with. How do you deal with those so that you can, if your personal life is in check, your professional life tends to be in check. But yes, I ask for a lot of advice, and sometimes the advice is something that you don't want to hear, but ultimately it makes you better because it makes you pause.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great advice. And that's probably one of the reasons why I enjoy doing these calls and talking to business owners is it's funny, there's a pattern and a theme to all of it. And whether you're leading a personal development book, a leadership book, there's a theme to all of it.
Yep.
Very few people do it on their own. The most successful people have outside counsel, coaches, peers, whatever you want to call it, right? There's a formula we use in Action Coach. We call it the formula for change. And we recently modified a little bit. It used to be your dissatisfaction times your vision, plus your first step has to be greater than resistance. But in all the research we've done, we find is that first step, we now partner with support.
Yeah.
And we all need support, right? The letter S is support. And whether it be your wife, a business partner, I personally I have my own coach. I talk to 4 other people on a monthly basis, that same support, because we can convince ourselves of anything and we're always right.
Well, I mean, that's why you have to have a bit of an external perspective to
Absolutely. Go ahead.
But not only that, but what's really important is to surround with people that practice radical candor. You don't want people to tell you.
Did you say radical candor? Radical
candor.
I love it. Share it with me. I think I know what it is, but I want your definition.
It's actually a book of it that's titled the same. I read it a few years back and I absolutely fell in love with it. Essentially, you're not doing anyone service by not telling them the truth, the full truth. And you can be tactful and you can practice empathy, but ultimately, if I mean, I've lived in Canada for 26 years. If you don't tell people what they need to hear, you're not going to help them become better.
Thank you. Amen to that. I agree 100%. One more tough question. What's the biggest mistake you've made?
Not trusting my instinct.
Hmm.
It's I try to rationalize it, kind of like when something feels not quite right, and I'm like, oh, okay, but there's an explanation for it. Um, Trust your gut, trust your gut, trust your gut. Um, I don't think you can go wrong with it. Like the brain has an amazing plasticity, but it goes both ways, and you can rationalize and justify certain aspects. Just trust your gut. What is the first thing that your tummy tells you?
Excellent. Thank you. What do you want to be known for?
Driving impact and change for people and organizations. I really want to like you. I want to help companies build and scale and become 100 million, $1 billion companies, but have a positive impact. I like my judge and jury for me are my kids. I want to look them in the eyes when I'm on my deathbed and say I did everything they could to help make you and society better. So that's how I live my life. Like I'm very progressive and liberal in my views, and I try to support equity and diversity and like all these things that are really important to me. Because if we live in a just and equitable society, ultimately, whatever problems we'll have, we'll work through them.
Absolutely. Now, I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't mention the brand on the wall behind you. You want to tell
Okay.
us a little bit about Vinter?
Yeah, happy to. So Vinter was born out of necessity, and in my mind, those are the best companies to tackle. One of the companies in our portfolio is a company called Vino, and it's a wine import and distribution company that we started in 2014. The company has been growing at about 125% a year, and we kept coming across the same challenges around information needs and transferring information and ease of interactions, driving with efficiency, automation, reporting, insights. So we looked around. Naturally, the first thing that we did is we looked around and said, well, what solution exists? Can we tackle this through technology? Then we were coming empty-handed. Then we went and we talked to our I wouldn't call them competitors. I see them more as peers and say, well, what are you guys using? Like, help us. Like, and then of course some of the information was a bit guarded and some of them were fairly open and said, well, this is what we're using. So we understood that there isn't really a solution that addresses what we're trying to do. So Vinter really is a technology platform that's aimed at enabling the wine ecosystem. So think of it as an integration platform that takes the existing best of breed application, integrates them into one, and then on top of that, you have data, analytics, and insights that they're driven now to the company owners or the management team saying, okay, if you do this, this is what you're going to do. If you do this, this is what you're going to achieve. So it's like a reporting analytics layer on top of existing technology. So the interactions between a producer, importer, distributor, on-premise, off-premise, it's streamlined and efficient so that you can provide the right information at the right time with a click of a button and things like that. And then we use Salesforce Tableau to drive a lot of reporting analytics. So it's got a business intelligence engine, it's got a competitive intelligence engine that sends you signals and alerts when around actions that you can take to, well, sell more than your competitors.
So is it, in layman's terms, say this out loud,
Yep.
like an ERP software for
Yeah.
wine manufacturers and distributors?
Exactly. You
Okay.
have it nailed. It's like a wine ERP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. One of my clients is in ERP software space. So it's going, you're describing it all. I'm going, I think I want to synthesize this down to one thing. So
Absolutely. So it's a one ERP for producers. So if they need a costing system, inventory system, they can use whatever they currently have, or we can provide some of this inventory, purchase orders, allocation, forecast, reporting, just integrate. Instead of us necessarily building it all ourselves, we say, well, hey, change is hard. So why don't we just integrate your existing system into what we do, and you get to benefit from having an integrated system.
Excellent, absolutely fantastic. We're right on the hour here. I think we're about 30 minutes in. So thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute delight. Any questions, I guess, or parting comments before we hit publish and send this out to is it the metaverse now, the universe, the internet?
So I just came back from London last week, and I was there for London Tech Week. So one of the festivals that they participated was the CogX, and so I got to immerse myself in a lot of conversation around the metaverse and DAOs, the decentralized autonomous organizations. So we're not quite at the metaverse stage, but we're definitely headed that way. For me, what inspires me, and it kind of goes back to where we started the conversation. We live in a time of unprecedented change, and my personal belief is that where there's change, there's opportunity. So go out there and build the future.
That is a fantastic way to finish. We're going to go out there and build the future. Thanks again for your passion, enthusiasm. I love the smile, and we look forward to that coffee next week.
Sounds good.